Well, hello. I am doing a quick little video because I have gotten quite an enthusiastic response from our Dune Part 2 review. And a lot of people were a bit angry about that review. And I really love reading comments, especially hate comments. I think they're very, very fun. But also, it's a chance to talk about it a little bit further. If you haven't seen my Dune Part 2 review with my friend Matt, I suggest you go and check that out. Otherwise, this won't really make a whole lot of sense to you. But I will say right off at the beginning, I didn't really like this movie. There were parts of it that I thought were fantastic. Of course, the cinematography was amazing. But as a Dune fan, I have problems with it. And if you enjoyed this movie and I did not, first of all, your opinion is totally valid. It's totally valid. That's a great thing about art, is that not everybody likes the same things, right? And if you enjoyed it and I didn't, you have something above me because you're able to enjoy something that I did not. So in that position, I always find it fascinating when people are themselves affected negatively because somebody didn't enjoy something that they clearly enjoy. I've never really quite understood why that is. It's strange to me. It's very, very strange to me. But I guess that's just part of being a human being. Anyway, so let's get to some of the comments. I have organized these into this is the top comments. So the ones that get the most like. I actually got quite a few people who did really agree, so I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels this way. It feels like the world's gone mad. It is one of those things. Another, I've never checked the time during a movie theater. Did probably 3 dozen times watching Dune 2. Um, it's very interesting that it seems like a lot of people really just genuinely didn't didn't like it as much, and that there was quite a lot of people who felt disenfranchised because so many of the reviews by people who like it's their job to review movies just glowingly love this movie. And it's weird. It's weird. And so it can make people feel pretty good when they see like a contrarian review. This one's interesting. The 80s version was better, in my honest opinion. How did Part 1 and Part 2 have twice as much runtime, but some of the best scenes from the original and flat out change things from the book? I would agree that is part of the problem. That's why me and Matt kept saying style over substance. One of the big problems is that Dune is an incredibly dense book, denser than most books. And to be able to fit it all requires a certain type of finesse. And I don't think that was really what was being made with Denis Villeneuve's his adaptation of Dune. I feel like he made the movie he wanted to make, and that the source material really would have to take a backstage to what he was trying to accomplish, what he thought the point of the books were. And that's his choice, right? I do also love the David Lynch Dune, very, very much so. It's very nostalgic for me, but also I like that it manages to do a great deal of honor to the book itself. A lot of things are changed in it as well, but one thing that's always important to remember, Frank Herbert, the guy who wrote Dune, was directly involved with the production of the movie. So everything that happens in that movie, every change that was made, Frank was okay with. Or if he wasn't okay with it, he was like, nah, okay, fine. So I think that's kind of important to point out. When this is all announced a few years back, I never expected to be at the bottom of the list for me. This guy likes the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries the most. I also love the Sci-Fi miniseries. The acting, save for a few, is not great. A lot of the supporting cast is just not very great. And the special effects are awful. It is very much a Sci-Fi Channel original series, but it is so true to the books that if you want to understand the books and you want a visual medium for that, the Sci-Fi miniseries is actually very, very good for that. It's worth a watch if you are a Dune fan. This person did not like the representation of the Harkonnens. In the movie, they were pathetic. All the fights were one-sided. It felt like there was no conflict at all. I think a lot of it. I think a lot of this is the problem that Denis Villeneuve in the new Dune wanted to show how dangerous the Fremen were, and the easiest way was to make the Harkonnens, when they're actually in a fight, easily overwhelmed. And the only thing that we see from the Harkonnens of their cruelty is just their random sadistic murders. And I as much as I loved that we got kind of more of a feel of the Harkonnens in this movie in Dune Part 2, I have to agree there are better ways to do it, but that would require focusing more attention narrative-wise into the Harkonnens and less on the things that Denis was hyper-focused on. And it is unfortunate. Interesting review as a book fan. I'm so split on this movie. It definitely does not emphasize the parts of Dune that make it unique as a sci-fi universe. I would agree. But it also has things which, as a movie on its own terms, I can see being decent. From the perspective of comparing to the book, this review is spot on. From taking it just as the movie as it is, well, I enjoyed it, but it's hard to rate it. And that, again, it's one of those things. If you are a fan of the books, sometimes it's very hard to come to terms with these things. And I've spoken at length before with several people, several of my friends on streams, discussions of movies, that you have to be willing to change the subject matter in order to make something. You do. And I have a lot of understanding when that happens. Like the David Lynch version. They changed the weirding way. It's now suddenly like sound weapons. Okay? But does that change the story? No, not really. The entire ending, well, not really the ending, but the ending of it is wildly different, but that's because they knew they were not going to get another movie out of it. And so they just tacked on this wild ending. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it. It's fascinating. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. The role of the spice in the universe of Dune is not remarked enough. People are fighting over it, but since they forgot to mention the Spacing Guild, its importance is never brought to center stage. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. There are a lot of factors inside the book Dune that are important to point out. Dune is an allegorical tale that is rooted deep in a lot of different socio-political factors. You have fundamentalism, which can be, extrapolated to Islam in the Middle East. This is not me supposing this. This is what Frank Herbert said. The spice melange is analogous to oil. Like there are political forces at work. And then, yes, on top of that, you have the notions of transhumanism, of prophecy, of the dangers of prophecy and messianic figures. But that's, again, there's a lot of things going on, and it's not as if just the story of Paul is the only important thing. The story of Paul does not happen without the spice. The spice is the point of the whole thing. It is the catalyst that causes it. We don't get that in the Denis movies, and it's unfortunate. I hated that they used the word fundamentalist to describe the Fremen that lived to the south. Yes, true. It is often used inappropriately in current political discourse. I agree. I think it's more about, I guess, because we have a different understanding of the term fundamentalism now than we did, say, in 1984, say, as back when the book was written. When was that, 60s? But, yeah, I get where you're coming from on that. Not even little was explained of the mysteries of Arrakis, the nature of worms, the sand trout, etc. That is kind of a bothersome thing too. We do get to see the drowning of the young worm to produce the water of life. But I don't feel like a lot of that was focused on appropriately either. Some people might disagree with me that it was done, but I got whiplash in the movie theater because Paul taking the water of life is a pivotal moment in the Dune universe. And out of all of the scenes in that movie, that one felt the most rushed. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. Let's see. Glad I'm not the only one. Couldn't wait for Dune 2 to end. There was a bunch of people who were very angry at me, but, I'm having trouble finding that. It seems like the dislike for the movie stems from it not being a direct word-for-word telling of the book, which is totally fine. I respect your opinion on the movie, but as a review, it does fall flat because you're not reviewing the movie for what it is, but what it isn't. I'm pretty sure in the review I said that if you are not a fan of the books, if you haven't read the books, you're probably going to like it. It's also why it's titled Nerd Review. We are nerds. In a movie format, you have to usually trim a lot and tell a cohesive story at the same time. Sure, but that I feel like 2/3 of the point of the book were completely ripped out. And we have almost 6 hours worth of a movie. And still we couldn't really address hardly any of it. And I understand where this take comes from, but I have to be honest, because they say all of the changes that you talked about didn't impact the overall narrative of the story, nor did it deviate from the vision of the novels. Disagree. I disagree. There are massive changes that change the very fundamental aspect of where these books are supposed to be going, how these things are supposed to be evolving. Dune is not the story of Paul Atreides. That's not what it's never been that. It's never been that. And it's frustrating. 2 is ponderous, pretentious, and ultimately really boring. Okay, this one, he also didn't really like part 2, The Chani relationship just seemed odd and took up too much time. Agreed. Didn't like her as a character, and she was annoying. The interaction with Chani being removed from any familial ties from Stilgar and from Liet Kynes, really did make Chani into a totally different character, which is frustrating. Very, very, very frustrating. And it's unfortunate because there was this thing that was being published that, well, Denis Villeneuve is fixing how Chani was she was a disempowered woman or something in the book, which I don't agree with at all, especially as the books progress. But if anything, I felt like her legs were cut out from under her. And like I said in my part 1 review, also like the Lady Jessica, I do not feel like they did her character very good credit because she is a very strong character in the books. And in part 1, she's a mewling cat. And then in part 2, she's a vicious, manipulative woman. And, like, neither of those are necessarily great traits, and are not Jessica that was in the book. And it's strange. Very, very strange. Harkonnen seemed less ominous. Yeah, the final fight was kind of... By then, it just didn't really have much of an impact on me. Maybe that's just me. Emperor was poorly cast, seemed like a frail old man that should have retired long ago. I don't know why they didn't give Christopher Walken something to do. Maybe he could have been amazing as the Emperor. Why did they choose to make him look so frail and so weak? He's the Emperor of mankind. Like, at least let him stand up straight. And it was so weird. Weird. So when he's, like, toppled, there's no emotional investment whatsoever. I feel like many scenes could be cut. Nuke scenes seemed odd. Too many Paul Desert scenes. Others should have been added. It wasn't even necessarily that I think scenes needed to be cut. It's just that the scenes that we had ran insanely long and not in a great way. and it was strange, the idea of what they chose to focus on. Visually, it's 10 out of 10, but these weren't the characters in the book. Stilgar, Jessica, and Chani's characters were completely assassinated. I thought Fade Rotha was really well translated. Yeah, I liked Fade. Yeah. They made Chani into this weird radicalist instead of the intelligent, feminine, but equally as lethal character she should have been. Don't get me started on turning Stilgar into comic relief. Yeah, I mean, I guess the Stilgar into comic relief I kind of get. There's just something very charming about Javier Bardem that I kind of let that one go, you know? I really enjoyed his performance, but Stilgar's not really a character that I'm very emotionally invested in, as I am with like a lot of the other characters. Let's see. Someone didn't read the books, but wishes to. Upon seeing this movie, I felt the same as lacking some areas, but couldn't understand why. I did say that Paul and Chani's relationship in the movie is very underdeveloped and should have been expanded upon more. Just felt off having Chani just like Paul so fast without much context. I mean, I felt like they were trying to get into it in a respectful way. I was worried that they were going to turn part 2 into a giant like love story, and I'm happy that they did not. I guess them really digging each other, that progression didn't really bother me. I know it bothered quite a few people, but for me, it's all right. I swear, these are rated from the top comments down, so I'm looking for the hate comments. Yeah, let's see. I found my people. Yeah. Like part 1, didn't like part 2. How do you complain about how much it sucked without mentioning the lack of Alia? I could forgive a lot of the changes, but not what they did to Alia. I think we did mention that in the review, but I do want to talk about that some more. She's literally my favorite character in the books, and they decided not to include her. She's literally the person who kills the Baron, and it comes back to that in Children of Dune. When I realized she wasn't going to be in it, I felt like a stab to the heart, especially as a hardcore book fan. Ruined the whole experience for me since the first movie. I was looking forward to seeing how they would handle her, and then they butchered it. I would have forgiven most changes if they had just had Alia walking around freaking everyone out. Yes. So this is a really big, big problem. And it's one of the things that I've seen book enthusiasts bring up and moviegoers try and explain away as like, well, whatever. It doesn't serve the plot that they're trying to get across. In the book, Alia, at the end of it, has been born. She is effectively a toddler-ish. She has all the memories and all the powers of a Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit. And she kills the Baron. Now, some people are like, why is that important? Why does she need to do it? Why do you have to have that character? Well, in Dune Messiah, Alia, Chani, and Paul, and Princess Irulan all have very big roles. They are all 4 very, very prominent in that book. And even more so, Alia has an immense role, one of the most important roles in Children of Dune. And as somebody who tries to introduce Dune to people, through the books to people, the first 3 are the easiest to really get into. And you have to read them before you even try to read God Emperor of Dune. Oh boy. Oh boy. The whole story skips ahead 5,000 years from book 3 to book 4. Just spoiler alert. But what Alia does in killing the Baron has massive ramifications for the whole rest of the series. And, well, at least in Messiah and in Children of Dune. And the idea that they would remove that from her character is kind of like if Luke Skywalker's parents had never been murdered. That's like a huge factor in the development of that character. And that factor translates to why he does so many things he does. You can't just take a pivotal moment in a character's life that helps to define who they are and what they do from there and then just say, oh, well. Like, that's wrong. That's really wrong. You shouldn't do that. And I understand that if you've never read the books, then you don't know. And that's okay. You don't have to agree with me because you're not coming from the same place that I am, right? Sure, maybe they're just not going to be making the same story moving forward. Maybe they're not. Um, that's unfortunate, in my opinion, but I hope that actually helps some people understand like where we're coming from on this. We were the only ones that didn't like Dune. Edgelord take the movie was great. I don't think we ever said that. Let's see. Horde of Brain Dead fans that disagree and can't give an argument why. The movies felt very, very watered down and Hollywoodized. Yeah, I get that. I'm trying to find the hate comments. There are a bunch of them. But apparently not a lot of people are clicking like on those, you know? Yeah. There are no good Dune adaptations. I've seen them all. Maybe the fan-made director's cut of Lynch's film is more complete lore than any other film. Yeah. If you can find the I think it's like a 3-hour, maybe 3.5-hour cut of David Lynch's Dune, it's better. So much missing. No spacing guild. The importance of space is in our mind. The Emperor looks like he ran away from an old folks' home. What even is a Mentat? What is a Kwisatz Haderach? Targeting cruelties, minimize the random senseless murder on their own. Why is Shai Hulud so important to these people? Paul now owns the galaxy because of nukes. Channy hates Paul or what? There's so much not going on that I left the theater disappointed. This is a good example of why I had a problem with the movie. Let's see. Yeah, this is one that bothers me too. The number of times Piter's name is spoken in part 1, 0. And Piter is a very important character in the first half of the book. It's very strange. That still bothers me about part 1. We learn basically nothing really about Mentats aside from that one guy rolling his eyes and acting weird. But why does he do that? Why do we have human computers? Why don't we have regular computers? Why we're not going to talk about the Butlerian Jihad, the fight against the machines that helped shape Dune into the universe it is now? No mention of it. Okay, sure, why not? You know, it's so strange. It's so strange. Like some of these things that get cut, and I don't really understand why. Yeah, it's very strange. Total convoluted mess. I swear, these are the hate comments must be on the bottom. I don't know. Let's see. It's interesting though because I said I liked this part 2 better than part 1. Largely only because there were some scenes that I thought were good, whereas in part 1 there are very few scenes that I think are good. You know, it's just yeah. It's very, very strange. I will say the action scenes in part 2 were pretty terrible. They're pretty bad. I mean, unless you like seeing knife fights, but the action scenes in part 1 were vastly better. Let's see. Spectacle over substance. Yeah, there was a lot. Acting was subpar too, except the mom, Rebecca Ferguson. She's always amazing. Josh Brolin, he's always great. Always also let down by Stellan Skarsgård as a Baron. I still don't feel like we got enough of the Baron to get a good feel of it. He's such a great character, and again, I mean, we got like the best part was when he was watching Fade fight. You know, and yeah. I have many of the same gripes, but also gripes with some of your other gripes. That's fine. Let's see. I'm looking for the hate comments. I'm looking for the hate comments. This one's interesting. Did Doom movie suffer from the fact that two main characters, two blind leopards, are woefully miscast? Totally like the heft and charisma to carry such a big, expensive film. I don't have a problem with Zendaya. I don't think she's a bad actress. But I don't feel like she necessarily was embracing the character of Chani because, well, that wasn't the same character, you know. And but also, and the thing is, Frank Herbert is not. He's not a dialogue guy, right? And he builds worlds and concepts, and it's very high idea stuff. But there's a lot of room to fill in the gaps. But there's at least a template by which you base it off of, and it really does feel like many of those fundamental aspects of these characters were just tossed into the dumpster, and it's weird. Should listen to Justin Chang's review for the New Yorker. Is brutal. He claimed Villeneuve wasn't crazy enough to merit the director's chair and implied that David Lynch's version is better. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. What do you guys want as a TV series? Yes. Unironically, that I absolutely would rather a Game of Thrones style long form series about Dune. That is what we need. You cannot do it as a movie, as has been proven. It's so crazy. Yeah. Read the 2018 draft of Dune Part 1. It's clear from that draft that they planned many book-accurate things, or at least almost book-accurate, but many were changed later in drafts. They knew the lore, but knowing does not bring accuracy. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I guess it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice to make those changes, and I just disagree with them. Still trying to find the hate comments. Still trying. Came into hate, but can't get mad at book readers. Thank you. How much is Hollywood paying to get positive reviews? I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. Got half the correct pronunciations from this video. I thought Paul was saying Johnny the whole movie. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. This is great. This is the same contrarian shill who enjoyed the Marvels and thought the Batman was bad. I love this. This is one of my favorite things. And I'll show you why. It's great. So if we go to my content, and I was doing Minecraft for a while. The Marvels is the best Marvel movie since Endgame, and in the first thing we say in the review is it was fucking terrible, absolutely terrible. Like, that's called clickbait, guys. That's called clickbait. Do not try and own me with my own clickbait titles, because you played yourself. Also, this is being slow. And they said that thought the Batman was bad. That was a very nuanced critique. I loved Robert Pattinson's Batman until after they arrested the Riddler. And the reason why is that I feel, and I say it in that review, I feel like the studio forced them to keep making more of a movie. And if it had ended there, it would have been probably one of my favorite Batmans. It would be right up there with like the Michael Keaton movies. I loved it. And everything that happened after they arrested the Riddler made that movie collapse into an awful, awful pile of crap. And that sucks. Because before that, it was amazing. You're allowed to have a nuanced take on things. Oh, this is interesting. Are the mainstream reviews supposed to agree with you hating a movie? No. Recognize that the odd ones out here. Recognize that you're the odd ones out here. Your expectations are spoiled with being obsessed with the original books in the '80s movie. Well, apparently a lot of people disagree with you and disagree with the mainstream reviews. Like, it's I like, this isn't a contest about who's right. This is an argument over art. And that, like, we're all allowed to have a difference of opinion. Like, that's fun. You have to understand that if you are that much into the source material that you'll say it's held near and dear to your heart, they should have most definitely poisoned your opinions and ego with a preconceived notion about how the film should be, and you automatically won't be open to how this adaptation was filmed. It's not Dune the book movie. It's not Dune 1984 remade. It's an adaptation, so you should have known it wasn't going to stay 100% faithful to the books. I am a huge comic fan. Do you have any idea how much I have to swallow in order to enjoy, like, comic book movies? Although they're boring as hell now, and I just can't get into them, and it's really unfortunate. But even the big popular ones, so much has changed, and I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. I'm not okay with this because it changes things that I feel are insulting to the source material. And that's my opinion. If you don't agree, that's okay. I enjoy watching contrarian reviews, and they are presented well. This wasn't one of them. We mispronounce Chinese name quite frequently. A rare few individuals mature into competent, highly regarded reviewers. I don't believe that is your destiny. Well, thank you very much, Thomas, for your views. Appreciate it. That's fine. That's totally fine. This part was great. That part was good. I loved how they did this part. I like this style. Some parts are really impressive. Hot garbage. What a rage-baited joke. Me and Matt have different ways of conveying our feelings. I will play with nuance more than Matt will. That's just how it is. Matt will accept that some things are very good, but if he's like, ultimately it doesn't satisfy it, he's just gonna straight say it's hot garbage. I'll tell you exactly what I think was garbage and what wasn't. Literally the most R-worded opinion on a movie. Thank you very much, Jim Norton's alcoholism. Great. This is sarcasm, isn't it? Saying that this is so cringe and that was damn awful, but never explaining what exactly you're talking about, that is cringe. I'm pretty sure we did explain. Pretty sure we got to explain. How the one on the right says that so much was bad, but when the other one points out something, he actually says that he kind of liked it. Well, yeah, we're allowed to have nuanced takes. Yeah. Yeah. I hated this for so many specific reasons, and he continued complaining, not mentioning one specific reason. I think we pointed out a lot of specific reasons. I mean, at the very least, like, I think I made it pretty clear that I absolutely despise Timothée Chalamet's acting in both of the movies. Yeah. Gotta love contrarian videos. It's always the channels with barely any subscribers, too. So interesting. Oh, nobody tell him. Isn't obvious studios and larger corporate owners spend vast amounts of fiat on ads and buying off reviews? Because these channels aren't bandwagoners. They don't take their reviews of the so-called critics as word of God. They have a mind of their own, unlike most of you mainstream hive minds. Yeah. I said I have a channel with much more subscribers. I do these reviews for fun here because it's relevant to the purpose of this channel. Don't even think about these people, man. You're allowed your opinion, and people will cope in any way they can. Yeah, it's fine. It's I find it fun. I find it really fun. This person says it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Good for you. That's good for you. That's awesome. I'm happy for that person. You know? I know you guys are diehard Dune fans who are disheartened that the story you love isn't getting its due. I truly understand that. But you know goddamn well that these are not bad films. Films are allowed to be amazing in some ways and bad in others. And that's okay. That's okay. If what you got out of it makes you feel like it's a great film, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that my opinion is wrong. It just means it's my opinion. And we don't share it. Get the hell out of here with that garbage. You're both smart grown adults. You know what bad or hot garbage a movie looks like, and you know this ain't it. Him yelling in the tent in part 1 did suck. Yeah. See, even that person who loves the movies is like, yeah, that scene with Paul in the tent in part 1 was really bad, really, really bad, very cringe. Y'all want to hate this movie so bad? This comment section is baffling. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it was fantastic. That's okay. This is great. What madness is this? Denis Villeneuve is a genius. Zendaya and Timothy are brilliant. Greg Fraser is with his weight in gold for his transcendent cinematography. Cinematography was very good. Rest of the cast is marvelous. Hans Zimmer deserves a standing. Oh, the sound people deserve accolades. My family loves Dune. You guys are just plain wrong. They deserved all these Oscars, BAFTAs. Okay. We want to be so different so bad. Yeah, we do. More people agreeing with our review. Yeah, it's not a pop-off. This comment section trying to be different, act like they're philosophical intellectuals. Well, the boys, thanks for the comment. Appreciate you. There are a lot of people that really didn't like it. You can't have a real opinion on the movie if you walked out to have a cigarette and go to the bathroom. Sure can. Yes, I can. Absolutely. And look, that's one of the parts that I was making a point. Nothing happened. Literally nothing happened. I left the movie theater for about 7 minutes, and I asked Matt very specifically, what happened? Nothing. You know what we could have gotten in the 7 minutes? A scene with the Spacing Guild. You know? I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff you could have done. We have awful taste in movies. I guess so. Trolling fake review. I get it. You guys actually liked it. Nope. This world of holiday videos, poor cinematography, and the characters weren't written well. That's a good joke. That's a very good joke. Trolling won't get you more subs. It actually does. It actually does. I mean, sure, but you want these subs. You can get much more subs more quickly by showing your bare feet more, you know what I mean? The slice of fans who also don't like hard-to-come-by quality sci-fi blockbusters is very small. It's not like you were rightfully trolling Star Wars prequels like Red Letter Media. I mean, you have to understand, this is just a screw-around channel. I don't really put a lot of effort into anything I do on here. That's it. It's really as far as it goes, you know? It's just a place for me to express my opinion. It's fine. There are a lot of people that I think are just really hardcore into like a fan base built around this. You know? Don't want to watch this video, but came here to say this is your classic clickbait headline. Yep, we appreciate the engagement. Absolutely. Have you seen bad film? What was Morbius? Morbius was a bad movie, but it was more entertaining. Nah, I don't want to say that. That's for context. These guys like the Marvels movie. Clickbait title, guys. Clickbait title. They couldn't have a woman believing her husband and doing what's best. That's a weird comment. This is Matt. Sitting with your legs crossed is going to make your opinion look any smarter. Still had to try. Yeah. Yeah. When the only time your channel gets attention is when you hate Dune. Well, guess what? I'm doing it again. Found the Trump voters. Now this, okay, you know what? And this is going to be the last one that I'm going to make a comment on because this is ridiculous. I'm a socialist. I'm a gun nut leftist, pro trans rights, Medicare for all, like hardcore lefty. That is not my political persuasion at all. And the notion that you can prescribe somebody's political ideology to whether or not they like a movie is a problem. That is a big problem. Now, it's the same thing with like a lot of the comments that are seem to be upset because I don't like a thing that they like. Is that there's a lot of supposition going on here. That there must be a reason why, and I feel like if you are so poisoned that this is going to be a knee jerk response, that you're going to have such an emotional connection to a movie that you just saw, that this is what you take away from it, and people who don't like it, I think you need to re-examine some of your own hardcore beliefs and how you analyze the world around you, because you're going to find yourself losing friends a lot over differences that are petty and don't really matter. You know, don't get me wrong. I will stop being friends with people over really bad political opinions. I have recently a couple of friends of mine said, "Well, I don't really trust those trans people. They ain't my friends no more." But if it's over a movie, buddy, buddy. Look, again, if you like Dune Part 2, if you like Dune Part 1, good for you. Good for you. But I hope that you can at least take some time and consider why some people might not, and why they might have a different feeling towards it. I don't know what is in store for the future of Dune. This movie's probably going to make $2 billion, which good for all of them. You know, that's great. It's not the movie I wanted, but if enough people like it, that it makes that much money, I mean, do what you're going to do. I don't feel like this is blasphemy or sacrilege to Frank Herbert or anything like that. I myself feel let down. And I'm the one who has to deal with that. I'm the one that has to live with that disappointment, not you. So, by all means, feel free to continue engaging with my clickbait titles for my throwaway channel, where I just rant and give my holiday hot takes about movies. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care.